It was a peaceful night in Mornington. A small family had settled in for the evening. A pregnant mother asleep upstairs, her little girl safe in her bed, and a husband still awake, walking quietly through the house. There were no loud arguments, no signs of anything wrong, just silence, and one quiet decision that would change everything. By the next morning, something was very, very wrong. But no one knew it yet, because the truth wasn't just hidden. It was covered up, piece by piece, by the one person they never expected. What really happened that night? If you're a fan of true crime and criminal investigations, you won't want to miss our new book, The Ultimate Book of Serial Killers: 180 Files of the World's Most Notorious Murderers, now available on Amazon. You can also purchase the PDF version directly from our website for instant download. You'll find the link in the video description and in a pinned comment. Now, let's dive into today's case. John Miles Sharpe was born on February 28, 1967, in the quiet seaside town of Mornington, Victoria. He was one of 6 children raised by Valerie and Miles Sharpe, a large, typical Australian family. But from early on, John was anything but typical. He was different, withdrawn, quiet, painfully introverted. Even as a child, he struggled with stress more than others. Social situations didn't just make him uncomfortable, they drained him. While his siblings made friends and played freely, John remained in the background, battling anxiety, never quite fitting in. He was close only to his parents. Outside of that bubble, the world felt cold. School brought no relief. He had no real friends. Maybe a classmate or two he'd speak with, but no true bonds. No one he could confide in. Still, he made it through, graduated, and by the 1990s, he was working at the Commonwealth Bank. That's where everything changed. She walked into his life like sunlight. Anna Kemp, cheerful, outgoing, full of energy. A confident, intelligent woman from New Zealand. John was 27, she was 31. Somehow opposites attracted. Anna had a magnetic warmth. He had a quiet steadiness. It didn't take long for them to grow close. They worked together every day, gradually falling for one another. After a year of dating, they made it official, and in October 1994 they got married. Anna, though far from her family back in New Zealand, stayed deeply connected to them, especially to her mother. They spoke often, phone calls filled with love, encouragement, and updates about her new life in Australia. Anna came from a devoutly religious family. Her faith wasn't just tradition, it was a foundation. Marriage wasn't just legal, it was sacred. But after the ceremony, once they moved in and the honeymoon phase ended, Anna noticed something she hadn't seen clearly before. John changed. He became quieter, colder, emotionally distant. She'd later confide in friends and family that it was as if something essential had been switched off. The relationship, she said, suddenly felt empty. No passion, no tenderness, no intimacy. He had bursts of anger. Still, she stayed. Because she believed in the vows. She believed in trying. She believed in giving it time. In August 2002, joy finally arrived. Gracie was born. Anna was overjoyed. Becoming a mother was one of the happiest moments of her life. But soon after birth, doctors diagnosed Gracie with hip dysplasia, a condition that required her to wear a corrective orthopedic brace for the first 3 months of her life. It was a tough start. Anna stayed up all night, caring for Gracie, adjusting to life as a new mom. But John wasn't adapting. From the beginning, he was cold toward his daughter. There was no fatherly affection, no warmth. He kept his distance. According to multiple sources, he resented her. He even called her a cripple, a cruel remark that cut deep, exposing a disturbing lack of empathy. Her cries irritated him. Her needs disrupted his world. The marriage continued to unravel. Anna told her family that the tension in the house was constant. They barely communicated. Even small decisions became battles. She thought maybe it was the lack of sleep. Maybe it was just a rough phase. She hoped that once Gracie grew older, things would settle. But things only grew more unstable. Soon after Gracie's birth, John made a big decision. He left his job at the Commonwealth Bank. He started working from home as a conveyancer, a job that involved managing the legal paperwork for real estate transfers. It gave him flexibility, independence, but it also meant less structure, less predictability, and much more time alone. He ran the business from a small office in their home, a man already withdrawn, now increasingly isolated. Over time, Anna began to see signs that John hadn't made this decision out of ambition. It was avoidance. He was crumbling under the pressure at work, the long hours, the constant demand, the people. John wasn't built for it. He wasn't naturally sociable. Interacting with clients, managing a team, being in a bustling workplace, it all drained him more than he let on. And now, he was running from it. In September 2003, another major change hit the family. John and Anna bought a new house. It was larger, closer to his childhood home, just a few streets from where his parents still lived. On the surface, it looked like a new chapter, but that wasn't how it felt inside. The walls of the new home didn't echo with laughter. They were thick with silence. The tension between John and Anna wasn't just lingering, it was growing. Then, in November, Anna found out she was pregnant again. This time, it was a boy. She was thrilled. She told a close friend she finally felt hopeful again. Gracie, their little girl, would have a sibling. The family she dreamed of was beginning to take shape. But John's reaction shattered that dream. He didn't smile. He didn't embrace her. He didn't even fake joy. Instead, he questioned whether the baby was his. Anna later confided in loved ones. John was resentful. Instead of celebrating the news, he lashed out with cold irritation. He wasn't just indifferent, he was distressed. The second pregnancy didn't feel like a gift to him. It felt like a burden. He started to unravel. He couldn't sleep. He barely spoke. He drifted further into himself, becoming silent and irritable. Eventually, he saw a doctor and was diagnosed with insomnia. He was prescribed sleeping pills, but they didn't work. Night after night, he lay awake in the dark, lost in his thoughts. Thoughts that whispered everything was wrong. That life was crushing him, that nobody understood, that it would all be easier if he didn't have to keep pretending to be a husband, a father, a man who had it together. On March 21, 2004, Anna was in her second trimester. That day, the entire family, John, Anna, and Gracie, attended a birthday party for their nephew. To everyone around them, they looked like a picture-perfect family. Anna had already chosen a name for the baby, Francis. Even a close friend who had been staying with them that week saw nothing strange, just a normal family, on the outside. The next morning, Anna took Gracie to nursery school, just like she always did. That same day, she made a phone call to a friend. They made plans to meet up in a few days. The next day, she contacted her private health insurer. She wanted to add her unborn child to her policy. 2 days later, March 23rd, something happened. An argument. No one knows exactly what was said, but one thing is certain: it was serious. That night, after the argument, they went to bed. It was between 9 and 10 p.m. Anna was likely asleep when John got up from bed and walked downstairs to the garage. There, he picked up a spear gun. He returned to the bedroom, and he shot his pregnant wife in the left temple, but she didn't die right away. So he shot her again. Then he pulled a blanket over her blood-soaked body and went downstairs to sleep on the couch. The entire ordeal lasted only minutes. The next morning, John got up, dressed Gracie, and took her to nursery as if nothing had happened. He began to build a lie. He told people Anna had left him, that she had run off with another man, that she planned to return in a few days to collect Gracie. But Anna's family wasn't buying it. They tried calling her, messaging her. Nothing, no response. And to her mother, that silence was unbearable. Anna had always kept in touch. Even when she traveled overseas, she never went silent. Now, there was nothing. Worried and growing frantic, Anna's mother turned to her local parish priest in New Zealand, a man who had known the family for years. She told him she hadn't heard from Anna since Monday, that she had sent messages, that none had been read. Then the phone rang. It was John. He told her the same story, that Anna had left him, that she had gone off with another man, that the baby wasn't his, that she would be back soon to pick up Gracie. Anna's mother listened carefully, but inside, she knew. Her daughter would never abandon her child. She didn't believe a thing John Sharpe said. The priest sensed it too. He saw her distress, and he knew the silence meant something wasn't right. So he made a call of his own. He reported the matter to police in New Zealand, and as a parish priest, a trusted member of the community, his concerns weren't brushed aside. They were taken seriously. And very soon, investigators would begin to pull back the curtain on a carefully constructed lie. And what they would find behind it was far worse than anyone imagined. At first, authorities didn't see it as a criminal case. It was possible, they thought, that Anna had simply needed space. Maybe she was avoiding difficult conversations. Maybe she was embarrassed about something. But as the days went by, her silence became impossible to explain. New Zealand police escalated the matter. They handed the case over to Australian authorities. Officers in Victoria were contacted and asked to perform a welfare check at Anna's home in Mornington. Meanwhile, a date had been set. Anna was supposed to meet with a close friend on the 26th of March. The time and place had already been confirmed. But before that meeting could happen, something strange occurred. The friend received a phone call from John. He told her Anna wouldn't be coming. He repeated the same story he'd given others. Anna had left him and Gracie for another man. The friend was stunned. She had known Anna for years. They had shared everything. It didn't make sense, but still, something in her gut told her not to dismiss it. While concern grew around him, John Sharpe was busy covering his tracks. He had bought the spear gun long before the murder, claiming it was for fishing, though he never once used it. He paid in cash, left no record. The night he killed Anna, he went downstairs to sleep on the sofa. The next morning, he got Gracie ready and took her to nursery, just like any other day. When he returned home, Anna's body was still lying upstairs. He tried to remove the spears, but they were lodged too deep. He only managed to unscrew the metal ends. The blades remained buried in her skull. Then he dragged her body out to the backyard and buried her in a shallow grave. And life went on, at least on the surface. By Saturday, 4 days after Anna's death, John was still pretending everything was normal. He continued his daily routine, dropped Gracie at nursery, picked her up, made her dinner, put her to bed. But that evening, After she had fallen asleep, something darker began to unfold. He started drinking. John was preparing to kill again. This time, it was his own daughter. When he felt ready, he took the same spear gun, walked quietly into Gracie's room and shot her. But just like with Anna, the first shot wasn't enough, so he shot her again. The next day, he returned to her room, but he couldn't bear to look. He covered his eyes with a towel. Then, he removed the two spears from her tiny head, wrapped her body in bin bags and duct tape, placed the spear gun and some of her toys into the car boot, and drove to the local tip. He dumped her remains like garbage. In the days that followed, John worked hard to keep his lie intact. He told anyone who asked that Anna had left him, that she'd chosen someone else, that she was gone of her own free will. He logged into Anna's email account and began sending messages to her friends and family, posing as her. He claimed she was happy, in love, pregnant again with her new partner's baby. And if anyone doubted the story, John told them, "She has her phone. Call her if you want." But something didn't feel right, not to those who knew Anna best. The emails were strange. The tone was wrong. They were cold, mechanical. The warmth, the humor, the affection that Anna was known for, it was missing. The words read like her, but they didn't sound like her. Still, John may have believed the distance would protect him. New Zealand was far away. He may have thought he could control the narrative. But then, the doorbell rang. Police officers from Victoria stood at his doorstep. John looked surprised, but didn't flinch. He recited a carefully rehearsed version of events. He told them Anna had left on March 23rd, that she came back a week later to collect Gracie, that he'd only seen her a few times since. He said they had talked about separating, about the baby, about their futures. He insisted Anna didn't love him anymore, that the baby wasn't his. He tried to appear hurt, a betrayed man, a father left behind. He wanted to seem like the victim. But beneath the surface he could feel it. The ground was shifting. That very same day, after the police visit, John drove to a hardware store. He bought duct tape, 2 tarpaulins, a chainsaw. Then he went home, dug up Anna's body from the shallow grave in the backyard, and dismembered her. He wrapped the pieces in tarpaulin and duct tape, and like Gracie, he drove them to the tip and disposed of them. He replaced the blood-soaked mattress. He threw out Gracie's cot. He continued logging into Anna's email, sending messages to make it seem like she was still alive. He even used her bank card to buy flowers for her mother, Lily Kemp, pretending they were from Anna. A small, twisted gesture to keep up the illusion. But the mask was beginning to crack. The police investigation was underway. The media had caught wind of the story. And then, in a moment that would shock the nation, John Sharpe appeared on live television. He stood before the cameras and pleaded. He begged Anna to come home, begged her to call, begged for any sign that she and Gracie were safe. He told the world he loved them, that he missed them, that he still cared. He looked directly into the camera and spoke to a woman he had already murdered. "Anna, our marriage may be over, but I still love you. And you are the mother of our beautiful daughter Gracie, whom we both adore more than anyone else." John wasn't grieving. He was acting. At that very moment, he had already submitted a written statement to police, insisting that he had nothing to do with the disappearance of Anna and Gracie. He repeated the same story he'd been telling everyone. Anna had left, but investigators weren't buying it. They didn't have enough evidence to arrest him. Yet, they put John Sharpe under surveillance. They followed him to Chelsea Beach, a location John had previously claimed Anna had moved to. There, he retrieved something from the bushes and entered a public toilet near the car park. The officers moved in to search the area after he left. What they found changed everything. Hidden in the bushes were Anna's mobile phone and her bank card. John had been using her belongings to keep up the illusion. He'd been storing them in Chelsea, the very place he said Anna had disappeared to. He had even used her phone to make calls, withdrawn money using her card. He returned to the spot periodically, planting a false trail, reinforcing a lie. But now, he'd been caught. Shortly after, John Sharpe was arrested and formally charged with the murders of Anna and Gracie. At first, he stuck to his story. He denied everything, repeated the same lines, maintained his innocence. But the pressure mounted. The questions became sharper. And finally, John broke. He confessed to the murder of his 41-year-old wife, Anna Sharpe, and his 20-month-old daughter, Gracie Sharpe. When police learned where the bodies might be, they launched a massive search of the local landfill. It took 3 weeks. Every single ton of waste was sifted through manually. And then, on July 6, 2004, they found them. The truth was finally undeniable. When asked why he had done it, John didn't express remorse. He blamed Anna. He told police she was moody, domineering, and unhappy. He claimed she didn't let him see his family as often as he wanted. He said their marriage was already over. He claimed he thought he could raise Gracie on his own, but later said he feared becoming a single father, that he couldn't cope, that her crying irritated him, that he had never bonded with her. During the trial, a forensic psychiatrist described John as socially inept and deeply withdrawn, a man incapable of confronting his problems. Experts believed he viewed his home life as a prison, a place he couldn't escape from. He lacked the skills to resolve conflict, to communicate, to ask for help. He told doctors he felt like someone else during the murders, but testing found no psychosis. He was aware. The psychiatrist diagnosed John with moderate but clinically significant depression, not enough to impair his judgment entirely, but enough to distort how he saw the world. During sentencing, the judge delivered a powerful condemnation. He called the murders calculated and brutal. He said John had killed his wife out of resentment and described Gracie as a defenseless child who was your legal and moral responsibility. He said John had shown no genuine remorse. He sentenced him to 2 life terms in prison, with a non-parole period of 33 years. John Sharpe was 38 years old. He sat in court, head down, breathing heavily, wiping away tears. But those weren't tears for Anna or for Gracie. They were for himself. After the sentencing, John's mother, Valerie Sharpe, issued a public statement. John's crimes were horrific, and he will serve the sentence given. He has given himself a life sentence. After his conviction, darker revelations emerged. Members of John's extended family revealed that he had sexually abused a young girl for 2 years, stopping only when he turned 18. The victim was a relative. She said the hardest part wasn't just the abuse, but the knowledge that if she had spoken out earlier, maybe Anna and Gracie would still be alive. 3 more individuals came forward after the trial. They claimed John had acted inappropriately around children in the past, both within the family and close circles. For years, no one said anything. The victims were still children, still scared. It wasn't until the murders that they finally broke their silence. According to John's relatives, Anna hadn't known about his past when they married, but later, she may have found something. Both Anna and Gracie were buried under Anna's maiden name, Kemp. One more name was carved into the stone, Francis, the unborn son who never had a chance. Though he never took his first breath, he is remembered, beside his mother and sister. John Sharpe's crimes horrified Australia and the world, a father who destroyed the very people he was meant to protect. He left behind unbearable grief. and questions we may never fully answer. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.